Chapter 41. I will handle this quickly. The area within the wall is safe, so all you need to do is watch, Commander. Are you sure you can manage alone? From what I can see, there are at least 10 of them, Kishir asked, glancing at the enemies with a look of interest. Like Yudir, he showed no signs of tension. No problem. His casual tone, as if saying 2 plus 2 equals 4, momentarily disrupted the enemy's murderous intent. Are you unable to grasp the situation? If you are choosing death, does he sound like someone ready to die? Yudir shook his head at the masked figure. He sighed at the thought of having to expend energy against these people who couldn't even properly assess his abilities. It's you who failed to understand the situation. You know the redstone is here, but you seem unaware of its nature, that it explodes the moment it comes in contact with an awakener's body or abilities. If you falter, touching it could be fatal. What did you say? Of course, Yudir had no intention of wasting the limited power held by the redstone in such a way. However, the enemies would not know this and would likely flinch even if they believed his words to be nonsense. In a battle between awakeners, the one unable to fully use their abilities was at the distinct disadvantage. If you think we'll back down just because of that, should I show you whether it's true or not? All we need to do is set up a defensive wall. As if to make a point, Yudir moved his flame-encircling sword. The sight of the dancing flames caused tension to flicker across the enemies' faces. They didn't know what abilities he had, but anyone who could easily snatch a sword, created a water barrier, and used flames while doing so was no less than a legendary mage. It was an incredible power. What should we do? Even so, we can't back down. It's a bluff. Among the enemies, the one who seemed to be thinking the most called out loudly enough for the others to hear. No one knows we are here. He's just buying time. You'd better disregard any hope that someone will come to help. If you want to lessen your suffering. Goodness, even when I explain kindly, you talk too much. Before the enemy could finish his words, Yudir slightly swung his sword upward. Instantly, the flame surrounding the blade shot up like a pillar. Boom! It was a small pillar of fire, but its power was undeniable. The flame that pierced the ceiling and the roof illuminated the night sky for a moment before disappearing. It was powerful enough for those far away to sense something unusual and rush over. Now everyone should know you are here. Looking at the remnants of the fire falling from the sky through the shattered window, Yudir chuckled. The dumbstruck looks of the enemy's face were quite amusing. And what was it you said? If you want to lessen your suffering? Through the gaps in their masks, he could see their eyes trembling. I suggest you start hoping your suffering will lessen. Damn it! Everyone, attack at once! As the enemies rushed at him all at once, Yudir swung his outstretched arm. If you wanted to overpower us, you should have attacked the moment you broke in. Upon hearing Yudir's words, the enemies knew they couldn't fully utilize their abilities. After all, they didn't know the exact location of the redstone, but Yudir was the opposite. Even a mere graze from his flame-engulfed sword sent the enemy screaming and collapsing. A normal sword might cause minimal damage with a slight cut, but when fire seeped into the wound, it was a different story. The flames rapidly penetrated the wound, immediately spreading throughout the victim's body. Fortunately, they are all physical enhancement types. There was no more familiar with the battles between awakeners in the current world than Yudir. Those who strengthened their bodies appeared strong in close combat, due to their high offensive power, but their defensive power was weak. Even if they could enhance their skin, it wasn't invincible. Even the most conditioned individuals struggle to enhance softer parts of their body from the get go, like the insides of their mouth or their eyeballs. Either dodged a punch thrown by someone whose skin was as hard as a stone and gently jabbed his sword in the opponent's eyes before pulling it out. When another enemy attacked with the nails elongated like a sword, Yudhir momentarily erected a small ice wall, seizing the moment of hesitation to slice at their side. The burning smell accompanied the transfer of the fire to the body. Someone hurled a spell, but since it was ultimately made of metal, it was enough to direct it towards the ground, and he even managed to redirect a few back at their casters. It took Yudhir less than a few minutes to take down more than 10 enemies. The mansion was filled with individuals who were scorched black and writhing in agony, unable to die. The wall will now be dismissed since it's over. Very well. Yudhir nonchalantly passed by these individuals, looking out through the broken window. He would see the torches carried by those rushing towards them from not far away. Fortunately, no one has escaped. Fearing that delaying would allow someone to escape, he resolved the situation as quickly as possible. He couldn't afford to let information about the redstone leak out. Once Yudhir verified the outside, he approached the pillar holding the redstone and bought the box containing it. Kishir accepted it. Now then, shall we check the mastermind behind this? The moment Kishir retrieved the stone, he eyed his private quarters. The enemy's intrusion was completely unexpected. I thought they would come after I left this place. The fact that so many had invaded meant that the enemy had prepared for this operation for a long time and had underestimated Kishir. In other words, the enemy wasn't someone who knew about Kishir's power. Had they been watching for such a moment in the past? If so, it would make even more sense if Kishir had dealt with them by wielding the divine sword. Yudhir checked the faces of the ones still breathing. Out of the 13, 8 were dead and 5 were still alive. Your Grace, Commander! While Yudhir extinguished the fire on the bodies of the living and gathered them in one place, the sound of General Gino and cavalry members' voices came as the door shattered. Your Grace, it's Gino. Are you all right? There was an intrusion, but it was quickly suppressed. It's fine. At Kishir's leisured response, Gino seemed to calm down. Due to the box, I cannot reach you. I will send someone. Moments later, the cavalry members passed through the corridor and entered the reception room. Their eyes filled with urgency as they hastily put on their uniforms, turned to horror upon seeing the several bodies lying on the floor. My goodness, what in the world? Don't come any closer, Kana. Although they were dead, one could never be too cautious. Yudhir had Kana, who lacked combat abilities, step back and then looked at Kishir. As if waiting, Kishir opened his mouth. These 5 are still alive, so I plan to interrogate them immediately. This place is messy, so let's move them to the next room. The next room, you say? Gakane swallowed nervously and asked. Understood, but who exactly sent these people? We'll have to find that out now. Yudhir's calm response cast a cold atmosphere over the room, which was broken by Kishir's low chuckle. Yes, we will find out now. Gakane's shadow clone carried out the task of moving the intruders to the next room. The shadow clone, carrying all 5 at once, strode into the room and threw them down. Kana, Gakane, you two stand guard outside the room and make sure no one enters. Move the dead ones outside. The rest come inside. Yes. At Kishir's simple command, everyone moves swiftly and efficiently. Yudir closed the door after making sure elder siblings and Kishir had all entered the room, preventing any sounds from escaping. Now then, Kishir approached the groaning man, his relaxed smile gone. His cold red eyes bore into the enemies. Who sent you? Answer me. Although they were clearly alive, the enemies did not answer. Kishir turned his head quietly and looked at the elder siblings, who stepped forward. So we just need to make them talk, right? Leave it to us. The elder siblings' specialty wasn't their mobility, but their extraordinary physical enhancement abilities. Although there were many people with abilities to strengthen their bodies, the elder siblings were quite exceptional. As they stepped forward with their innocent faces, the siblings smiled, and their once slender arms and legs began to swell. With thumping and ripping sounds, their clothes were torn apart without mercy. The enemies, who had been firmly clenching their mouths shut, began to tremble uncontrollably. Moments later, two massive figures with rock-solid muscles stood where the elder siblings had been. It was the transformed elder siblings, their power activated. Remarkable. Every time I see it. Yudir thought that their ability was incredibly visually striking. As he looked at the cute faces attached to the grotesquely swollen bodies. With their childlike innocence intact, their bodies had transformed like giants, causing most enemies to lose their will to fight and flee as if they had encountered a massive monster. The enemies before them seemed to be no different.